Happy Beltane, dear Astro friends. What a special festival today. Mid-spring is here, Central Taurus, double Taurus, and the festival of Beltane, all about abundance, fertility, and nature in bloom. Hope you're enjoying your time in nature and everything going easier as it's warmer. Hope you've come together with friends to celebrate the special juncture of the year. Maybe danced, maybe feasted, or maybe having been on a walk in nature. And what does May bring? What does the beginning of May bring? Pluto just went retrograde today, this morning, and Mercury will this evening, May 1st, I'm speaking, will this evening be passing behind the Sun. Basically, this is a new Mercury. The Sun is now ahead in the zodiac. Mercury will be behind. So, in other words, the mind as a tool, but not as a master. The mind serves consciousness, spirit, and the heart. And we can speak from the heart rather than being all wrapped up in the head and all the complications it brings. Hopefully, you also let your body, with Mercury Retrograde in Taurus, inform you about, what the body's intelligent, right? So, what is the body? What do your senses tell you? Do you have access? How is your relationship to your body? All important questions. And then, of course, also values in general. Um, Themes around values would have come up a lot with this Mercury retro. Let's go into this week that's coming starting tomorrow, the 2nd of May until May 8th. Powerful week for sure because we are moving into the second eclipse of the season, which is the penumbral lunar eclipse. So, an exact or nearly exact full moon in Scorpio. And it's also the Wesak Moon of the Buddha. The full moon in May is being celebrated by the Buddhist community as the Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and passing. So, Buddhist themes can really be helpful, and the energy field is generated for that anyway around the world in all the Buddhist communities. So, what would be important Buddhist teachings and why is this relevant for this upcoming full moon? First of all, the full moon will be in Scorpio, in central Scorpio, which is double Scorpio, while the Sun will be and already is in mid-Taurus, which is double Taurus. What a tension, what a strong tension between these very strong, powerful forces of the zodiac, the center of the fixed signs where power is being concentrated. They're also called gates of power. And what can happen with all this powerful dynamic, which for Taurus is about the power of nature, and for Scorpio is the power of change. So they are in contrast and in a tug of war, if you will, with each other and need to be bridged. So not a overcoming of nature and repression of nature through the changes, through the massive changes currently, especially in a whole technological world, which is ruled by Aquarius, where Pluto is currently the ruler of Scorpio. So many changes disrupt nature. What does nature teach us? How can nature ground us? Once you destroy nature, it's gone. Yes, it may regenerate, but that may take forever. And what are the values and priorities in all of this? So when it comes to Scorpio and Taurus, themes are also for us personally, psychologically, mentally, attachments. Here's the Buddhist theme again. Attachment creates suffering. Suffering comes from attachment. Either we are attached to what we want, what we desire, what we want so badly and don't have, or we're attached to getting rid of what we don't want. That can be intense and obsessive, also called attachment. How can we free ourselves from attachment? Uranus in Taurus, not far from the Sun with the full moon. Let me show you the picture. So here is the full moon picture, and the Sun approaches Uranus, which it will meet next week, and a lot of energies here going on this juncture from Aries to Taurus, where we also had the new moon, which was a hybrid total annular solar eclipse on April 19th, 20th, on the very 19th/20th, on the very end of Aries, and now we're in Taurus season, and another eclipse is here, coming up on May the 5th at a full moon, will be exact at 10:34 a.m. I haven't looked up exactly when the height of the eclipse is, but we'll post that on my blog, and of course also on Facebook, whichever you like to follow if you do. And but the eclipse is there on, but the full moon is there on May the 5th in central Taurus and Scorpio. So the Scorpio moon comes with a south node, while the north node is here with the Sun. When the nodes are close to Sun and or moon, with a full moon or new moon, we get eclipses. So this one is a release eclipse because it comes with the south node. The moon will be with the south node, where it's all about release, where it's all about purging, Scorpio, purging old emotional stickiness, which can come literally from your childhood, from family, and or simply, so to say, your own emotional makeup that can get deep and intense. Right? That is typically the Scorpio vibe, but not to torture you, to go to places that are usually hidden and covered and help release what's in the dark and bring that out, even though it doesn't make us feel good, but it's important to bring it to the light. And that is what Scorpio is about. Super important not to get stuck in the process, not to get stuck in the dark, but to find our way through and find our way to freedom from there, which is Sagittarius after Scorpio, especially after this full moon. Once the moon will be in Sagittarius, which is on, just verify that, on Saturday already, on Saturday afternoon, Saturday 1:04 p.m. Pacific, the moon will go over what I like to call the Phoenix point from Scorpio to Sag after the full moon, right? So a lot has been burned off and transformed or sent on its way to transform, to set us free. And our hearts set us free, says Sagittarius also. Our love sets us free, not to keep dwelling and coming from these dark and bad feelings. Right? So the swamp and the lotus is the juxtaposition of Scorpio and Taurus in the Buddhist teachings. Sitting, the swamp is rooted in the lotus is rooted in the swamp, and the Buddha is sitting on the lotus. And yes, there's all kinds of swampy stuff going on these days, emotionally, personally, interpersonally, and societally, which is a lot to get through. And some of us are more sensitive or more willing to go into these realms, yet we also need to find freedom, right? Which is a Sagittarius after Scorpio, but also Uranus. Uranus is another liberating energy next to the Sun and Mercury retrograde. So, in other words, how can your body, Taurus, and nature help you to be free? How do you embody freedom? How do you embody sovereignty and thrive like blossoms, like flowers, like anything green in spring? So, this is the blessing of that penumbral lunar eclipse to help us strengthen that quality of thriving at the same time releasing all the stickiness. Wonderful time for spring cleaning too. And what else is going on this week? There is, I'm looking at my little cheat sheet, which is basically also the lineup of the major transits of the week. I post that on the Facebook page. Can't post it on YouTube, but it's on Facebook page and will be also in the newsletter. Well, there is much more description about it all and resources in the newsletter. So what's going on before the full moon? We have Venus still in Gemini now. The end of Gemini on May the 4th. May the 4th. In square with Neptune in Pisces and in sextile with Jupiter end of Aries, which will also go into Taurus on May 16th. More about that soon. But Venus makes these two aspects, which are the square with Neptune can lead us a bit astray. It's something like the call of the siren of the mermaid. Maybe our mind again with Gemini, right, ruled by Mercury, and Mercury currently retro. Maybe our mind has called us to intrigued us, so to say, into some wishful thinking and some illusion and some fantasy with Venus in Neptune Venus, right? So maybe a few attractions with Venus that are too good to be true or too bad to be true too. So not all is as what meets the eye. Basically, there's always more than what meets the eye, and also it's important to meet eye to eye with Mercury retro and not just be in the head, in the mind about things, right? To actually have a sensate experience. Says Mercury retro and says Venus square Neptune. So, what else is going on? Then the full moon on May the 5th, and then on May the 7th, more Venus news. Venus enters Cancer until June the 5th. So that's more an attraction to anything homey, to family. It would be wonderful to come back together with your loved ones, with Venus in Cancer, while also Mars leaves Cancer on May 20th, which some of us really appreciate because there had been some trouble in the house with Mars in Cancer, and maybe also lots of good activities to do, some home work and maybe reno or stuff like that, right? But it could have been conflict also in tribes, in families, and in Cancer countries, especially Canada and United States. Lots of aggressive and warring energies. Venus in Cancer brings more gentleness, more lovingness, more care into the picture, and helps everybody with Cancer energies to attract from that place and to feel safe at the same time. Maybe also down memory lane, as Mercury will be still in retrograde for the first week of Venus in Cancer. So I talk about May the 7th to 14th, and that would be Mother's Day. So a lovely energy actually for Mother's Day with Venus in Cancer. Hello. So what else is going on? Yes, the moon is now waxing until we have the full moon on the 5th, and then post full moon, um, the signs are Libra. This evening, the moon enters Libra, still in Virgo at this point. So we have strong needs for harmony, for balance, for right relationship, for fairness. All of that comes up, and justice. All of that comes up with Libra. And then that feeds into the full moon in Scorpio. So typically, and of course, choices also with Libra, right? So choices lead to change. And the change that comes from certain choices might not feel so good, says Scorpio. But if you have weighed the situation well and maybe negotiated and come to a conclusion that a certain direction is good, then so be it. And the Scorpio moon can be actually, Scorpio full moon together with Pluto now retrograde, can be actually quite empowering and can show us also how we access deeper layers that are beneath these apparently casual choices. So, yeah, and then after the full moon, the moon, as I said, on Saturday afternoon will enter Sagittarius, will go over the Phoenix point. That is always a big lift and shift, and especially after full moon. So it's time then to come out of maybe some caves that you could have been in and really go out, go to nature, go out for walks, be free, move, see new inspiration, be newly inspired, see new people also and places, and trust the process, trust your heart with Sagittarius. And lastly, I mean, I could have said that before, but here it comes in a wrap. The mid-Taurus energy that we're in now, since today, May 1st till 10th, is central Taurus. So that has a Taurus undertone. I already talked about that a little bit at the beginning. And we're now in central Taurus where the eclipse will also be. So it's all about joy, really. It's all about joy and being really embodied, fully embodied in this earth body. What uh, what feels good, and how can I slow down? Smell the roses. No, roses are not quite out yet, but the beautiful fragrances of spring, the lilac, and all else, and actually enjoy life. I wish you well for this week, especially for the eclipse. And I see you again, or you see me here next week for the following Astro Weather. Take care. Bye.